Right. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Nicolás. I'm from Oamaru, which is in the South Island, which is real New Zealand, and that's from where I have my accent from, in case that you haven't. Well, it's the same story as I'm 33 years old. Wow. I just have a hair problem, but that's the problem of living in Oamaru. Any of you are living in Oamaru, so how can you dare to go? Yes, there you see, the same kind of haircut. So I was born in this place from parents from this place, and what's funny? And some people say that I collect citizenships, but the most accurate comment about telling this story was a guy who said, what are you hiding from? So essentially, I married a clinical psychologist to help me with identity crisis. So because you have been so kind of laughing off my silly jokes, I will show you a little video about what are we talking about. Is she allowed to go? There we go. So this should be Australia or South Africa. We will see. Somewhere. This hasn't been built, so it's artist imagination, I would say. But as you can see, there are a few of them dishes. I love this music. There are more and more and more. So that's why certain multinationals are so keen on contracts. It's called infrastructure. There is a lot of money on this. And there are a few questions that I will ask later. What is this useful for? I mean, the keynote this morning gave us a little bit of insight how to do good or bad. So there will be three kinds of dishes. I will go backwards and explain a little bit more. These are other kind of antennas. I read once that there are 250,000 of these small things. Infrastructure. Have a look at the size of the track. And this is the third kind of dish or antenna. Whatever means the dense aperture array, ask these guys, they know. So it's, I'm just the guy who builds things. I'm the boss. So there will be also hundreds of this. And will be distributed between Western Australia and 8 countries of Southern Africa. And that's the interesting part, how it's extended. So we have a core, and we keep building, 50 kilometers in order to have the array extended, right? So, I'm sorry, what's going on? There are space there. Can they bring chairs and sit here?
No, we're not allowed to do that.
Okay.
I was happy with them on the back wall, but the university is not.
Well, we discussed about democracy in the morning, so here we are. At least was a good opportunity to do the video. Anyway, after this very friendly and elegant introduction, I say interruption, probably I should give you another video just to keep you, because this was a little bit rude. So let me give you the other one. So this is, I will explain who did the previous one and who did this, but this is marketing. This is formal marketing from the Square Kilometre Array organization. You will recognize this place. You. Have you been there?
Oh, yes.
There you go. And wait. No. Wait. The music is fantastic. I'm here. That's me. Right? That's the only reason why I show this. So, okay. Do you want me to finish with this?
No. You can carry on.
Thank you very much. So we keep with the music. It's like a porn movie, but whatever. So that shows where it will be built. And there are a few things that actually exist. So we will see now. The previous video, this exists. This has been built already. So it's called the Pathfinder or the Precursor or whatever. So it's stuff which is already there of other initiatives from governments. So yes. I don't know. It's okay, so this is what they try to say in order to raise the money to make this thing happen. So now we can do the actual, I don't have my glasses on, but I think that, no, what's happening here? Move. There we go. So after everything, now we can officially start. So, hacking the Big Bang is just a marketing term. Okay, can do this. So this is what we were talking about. A little bit of what means the square kilometer array, what is built for, a few fundamental questions that were already highlighted on the video. How this will be built. So it will be a big story about, thank you. It will be a big story about project management, about engineering. So I will focus perhaps more on managing this, which is also very similar to a huge open source project. What are we doing in New Zealand? What are we doing in Open Parallel? Why it's important for non-astronomers? And a lot of interesting questions. So about yours truly, I already know about my hair problem. So why I am here? I have an identity crisis. I call myself today, for this slide, a project director. But I build companies. I built the first e-learning company in South America. We had users in 14 countries. So I had my .com. That was fun. So I built the first multi-core software company in New Zealand. We made the University of Otago the first Sun Microsystem Open Spark Center of Excellence in the world outside of the United States. No one had a clue about it, but the chancellor of the university said, okay, it's Otago, here is Stanford, here is Carnegie Mellon, shouldn't be bad. So I had the background, I did some venture capitalist, which is fun because you spend other people's money. And you get to meet a lot of interesting and clever people, and that's the interesting part, which brought me to be in touch with Sun Microsystem, which was a fantastic company. So and there I discovered multi-core, which is something that you are using now. And later, 2008 happened, where things happen in the world, things change. Sun Microsystem was sold. So it was a company which was worth $200 billion in 2000. It was sold by $9 billion in 2009. So it should be a very, very clever company to destroy shareholder value in 9 years' time. So it's I learned the lessons, so I don't employ more PhDs. It's more a completely distributed model. It's like a movie director which knows the right actor, the right screenwriter or whatever, and then we get together to work in projects. And what's the difference between anything else? We are part of the SKA. I will tell later how we managed to be there, but the whole philosophy has been that as an entrepreneur with degree, I have a Master of Entrepreneurship from Ottawa University. I'm showing off because as a migrant, you need to prove yourself several times. So I went back to school. That was fun. So I paid my fees, didn't learn so much, but I have a degree. And that taught me the concept of the train. When you build things, projects, companies, visions, communities, you can see things, you can watch them. Okay, that's happening, cool. Or you can say, wow, that's happening. Can I? Well, because I am with this hair problem, I did all that, so now I'm building it, which has a huge amount of challenges, but has an advantage. Time, it's in your side. If you're in a .com or in a startup, you need to run, because no one waits for you. SKA has a time cycle which is, in one way or other, in your side. So, what is the SKA? By definition, the most powerful radio telescope. As I already said, I'm learning what is a radio telescope, so we can watch Wikipedia. It's not the point of the talk. The talk is how we non-astronomers are working for answering certain things that this gentleman has been presenting, code, more computer time, this and that. By the way, I studied engineering in Uruguay, and the standard paper at the time, that shows my true age, was Fortran. So you learn Fortran, the bloody Fortran 77 from Daniel McCracken. Probably was a friend of you. So 50 times the Hubble Space Telescope. We've seen a few things. Well, imagine what you can do with 50 times of that resolution. The presentation will be totally austere, so you can see all the images on the website. But I'm focusing on the largest supercomputing of the world, more than what you have, what you can use it. So, and the exascale concept is something that I am still getting into terms with it. The same with the story of all these hundreds of terabytes coming per second. So they call it the data deluge. So I'm trying to figure out this, if you have a glass and then you pour this, okay, what happened instead of having a bottle, you have an ocean. So you have an engineering problem. So you figure out to put this, and then you have the ocean, but oops, comes with a tsunami. Thanks for whoever provided this. So constantly it's changing as an engineering problem as well. So the technology that exists today, and it's on the roadmaps from standard corporations, it's not enough. It's not enough. I mean, Paul, we can discuss about the roadmap of the Power Foundation, and this, it's not enough. And that's the cool part as an entrepreneur, to be involved in this. You start to learn. You are involved with extremely clever guys like this ones that speak about extremely cool things that I'm sure that you understood. I'm not. But then you understand the other sides of the world, how corporations work, how governments work. There are a lot of questions. So it's a fascinating story. But in other words, the SKA is a big box with a big ear. A big box with a big ear for the other screen, right? It's simple as that. So what means big? I will explain shortly what is the science data processor as part of different parts of the SKA. But the science data processor is the compute platform, which means the avalanche of data and information needs to be processed to be something useful for this guy to make sense of it. Here is where we say, end of our services. Good luck. But until then, we need to transform the noise which is coming from the Big Bang. That's another cool thing. Is God telling us things? I have no idea. But it's really interesting what I'm learning about the difference between radio astronomy and optical astronomy. They're not paying attention, so I can say anything. Apparently, when the Big Bang happened, a lot of darkness happened. So these guys with the optical devices, they cannot see it. But we can hear it. So That's what I read about. The point is, there is a lot of data, a lot of things, and a lot of money. Because at the end of the day, someone needs to pay for this. Someone needs to give toys for these guys to make things happen, and needs to be operational, and that costs money. So how this will work? It's a software. At the end of the day, it's software. We have some ideas, I will comment on that soon, about how we can optimize that expansion. Instead of spending billions, we can spend less billions. Still, it's huge. But the design, it's fundamentally defined on how we can do new things around algorithms and software. So when even Mogland said this morning that new architectures will change the way how we see the computing world, I say, wow, I understand that. And that's the world that is coming. That's the exciting part that makes me working on this. Because at my age, some people go fishing. I got interested in these toys. So you can see the scale. You see the truck and the three kinds of dishes that will be built. So how this story started. A few guys like this get together in the 91 and had the concept, and then like a good group of people created working groups, which means they have salaries and they go all over the world and they discuss things. And 15 years later, they came up with a short list of sites. There were some in China, again, another interesting topic for today's keynote. Argentina, country that I know well, but not necessarily stable politically. A combination between Australia and New Zealand, because as you saw on the previous video, the array needs to be extended. So if you have things in Western Australia, having a few antennas in the South Island of New Zealand, hello, we suddenly become cool, it makes sense. So, true story, Prime Minister of Australia. I am the Prime Minister of Australia, you are the Prime Minister of New Zealand. Hey, mate, I have a lot of antennas, but I need a lot of things in whatever island that you have there. So, are you in? Yes. There you go. That's how things happen. Our Prime Minister is a speculative trader background and said, well, this is actually a cost-effective way to get involved in one of the largest scientific projects in history. It's actually not a very silly way. It's a very clever way. What happened later is that when the sites were selected, you had a site in Australia and in South Africa. Therefore, the combination made it completely irrelevant to having the half dozen of antennas in the South Island in New Zealand, which made the New Zealand bureaucrats say, we're out of here. Fortunately, we don't need to put money. And that's an interesting battle. In my opinion, which I've been reverting that battle, I want to believe successfully, it's the best opportunity. If you have 3,000 antennas to build, and you only need to do 5, it's not cost effective in terms of infrastructure to put 5 where the others need thousands of kilometers of cable and this and that. So actually we are blessed because we can focus in the things that we know. And you will see soon that we know a lot of things and we are doing really well. So things are changing. Yes, yes, yes. Move, faster. Good. So in my past life, I've been a math teacher, which explains why I can be so arrogant with the audience. But anyway, what are you laughing? Okay. So what happened in 2008-12? The people get together and say, well, this is the stuff. It's the preliminary statement of work. That's the thing that we understand. What do you want me to do? Well, here it is, right? So the SKAO is the Square Kilometre Array Organization. There must be a customer in this story. The Square Kilometre Organization, it's on the UK, it's funded by 11 countries, which owns this bloody thing, and it's a legal entity. So what happened, what happened in, look at my laser here. What happened in 2012? New Zealand government calls for an expression of interest on entities to say, hey, We have €1 million to contribute to the SKA organization. So do you know anything about this? 15 organizations from New Zealand apply. International peer review from Australia or whatever say, hey, organization number 1 selected, consortium led by Victoria University of Wellington. Organization number 2 selected, consortium led by Auckland University of Technology. Organization number 3 selected, Open Parallel from Wamaro. Was for the accent, of course. So why that happened? Because you do the homework and you go 2 years earlier than that and ask the guys who are thinking about this, hey, which kind of code do you need? Hey, what are the problems that you see? 2 years later, you know what to present. It's business 101. Nothing else than that. So what do we have now is, across 20 countries, 11 design consortia, which I will hopefully explain in a couple of slides. So what has been decided as well is that 650 million euros is what will cost at the maximum to build the first phase of this, which only will unleash 10% of the capability to scan the skies. That's the SKA-1. Today, we are at the, I will explain what I have done, but we are at the PDR. You need to become an expert on acronyms in this story. The preliminary design review. We were selected, we contributed, now we have been judged, or not, because sometimes no one gives a damn, but that's the phase that we are now, which we are moving towards the following years, which is the CDR, which is the critical design review, which will lead us towards the tender. Right? What's a tender? Real stuff. Now, SKA-1 funding means that the United Kingdom government already said we will put £120 million. We're doing the soap opera about. We are putting £120 million to put our contribution into this. That's a significant amount of money for science. It's not just for science. It's about big data. It's about open data, open government. Everything else, it's linked. So it's not just, hey, a bunch of money for a bunch of guys scanning the skies. There is a lot of things happening around. It's the World War II experience, where suddenly someone later discovered the microwave technology. It's the man in the moon kind of thing that someone told me that 40,000 new technologies were created as a consequence of everything. I mean, the silly story around is that this toy has more computing power than the mainframe that put the man in the moon in the 69. Well, true or not, that's the power of this sort of project. And for a country like New Zealand, it's an absolutely unique opportunity. New Zealand just doesn't get the opportunity to get involved in that, and Australia in some way as well. These are central power, big developments. These are European funding. These are DARPA kind of funding. These are money for the K1 in Japan. These are the Tsinghua University kind of budget. So having the opportunity of getting involved in that, it's historic. And why is that happening? Probably because no one else was watching. So the things started to get together, and suddenly, we need to put the money, whatever. So it's, yes, it's billions of dollars, which is nothing compared on what? A week in Afghanistan? We shouldn't be laughing, but it's actually, that's the way how you need to measure things. And that's one of the questions at the end. Isn't that useful later to remember big box and an ear? You learn a lot of things by doing things. Anyway, so the timeline. Hopefully we'll start construction, science, design the second part of it, construct the larger part of it, and then work for 50 years. That's a theory. When I say the larger part of it, remember that it's extended for 3,000 kilometers. So what are we doing this? This is what they say on the videos and the website. So, but remember, I have some background in real world and business. So how we throw all this money, how do you measure this? How many Nobel Prize are we expecting? Is that a success as well? So it is public money. It's your money. It's my money. At the end of the day, it's simple as that. So one of the objectives is to answer these questions. One of the most respected magazines in business in New Zealand asked the MBI, Ministry of Business, Innovation and Employment, who managed the deal for New Zealand, if you don't find black holes, will I get my money back? Guarantee. It's not a joke. That's true. That's happened. It's public. You can find, well, it's behind walls because it's whatever paywall for the magazine. But that shows you how strange perceptions are with funding for these esoteric things that you guys perhaps suffer in a different way. But doing evangelization in order to achieve this, it's a community effort. So what are you doing this? Because radio astronomy actually has a lot of opportunities very close. So the Commonwealth Scientific whatever research organization, I'm sorry, I'm from the South Island, we don't know this. So anyone knows what I'm talking about here? No, wrong. So, and actually that's a guy. So, which I met on, that was Perth in September, the SKA engineering meeting. It's a poster child, it's a funny story, but Australians use it a lot in a way to say, hey, actually give us the money to do the things because we can keep doing this. Apparently, $200 million are the Wi-Fi was what, 15 years ago or 20 years ago? So that's what CSIRO says, hey, you give us the funding, here's the revenue, right? So the scientific goals are, I won't read that, so please read. So there are 5, I put 4 there. So what I will comment is, if I look at these goals as a venture capitalist, I look at this goal as a guy who will give you the money. If I look at these goals about the strategy of why are we doing this or why not, would this find new materials? I have no idea. Other sources of energy. Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Volunteer. Can I ask you to stand outside and then stop the people from entering? Because to me, this show that you're moving from one side to another, making people go away, it's slightly disrupting. Thank you. So I'm saying here, is all this, which I don't have clear understanding, and I not necessarily need because I am a provider, leads to climate change solutions? Well, that's a welcome solution. Investigate the nature of gravity. What happens if this doesn't happen anymore? This could change many things. I don't know if this will happen or not, but if I am a politician, I have 30 seconds for your slides. 15 seconds for my slide, and then I sign here, here is the check. $100 million do you need? Okay. Do I need a hospital? Do I need a highway? This is how it works. So these scientific goals in some way hopefully need to be related to this. But the bestseller is this one. Because I am into the evangelization process, are we alone? So when I go to a high school and then I tell the story, kids love to know that there will be something that they can find, probably aliens, in 10, 20 years. And that's the STEAM topic, science, technology, engineering, mathematics, which is a problem in pretty much everywhere in the world. So, because this is massive, we need resources. This is not, you cannot put human power into computing power, you need clever people around. So, sorry if it sounds cheap marketing, the more people are talking about SKA, the better for all of us. So the SKA is divided in 11 work packages. I just found 8 of these logos. Infrastructure Australia says at the top, infrastructure South Africa, and then the white line, single pixel, whatever. So we in New Zealand are involved in the science data processor, in the central signal processor, and I'm trying to get linked in some way to the people on the telescope manager, which have some more standardized software to use, but they still have some software that we are trying to see, hey, we can help. The telescope manager are lead from people from a little startup in India called Tata. I'm sure you heard about it? You did. So that's the funny part as well. You start to deal with interesting people. So let's see what other people say. So instead of quoting, I will use his slides. Andrew is the director of the New Zealand SKA Alliance, and everyone is using the same slides, but is New Zealand involved in the SKA? The Auckland University of Technology signed formal signal processor and science data processor agreements and memorandum of understanding on behalf of us, the group of people contributing. The design, I'm moving, the SDP, the science data processor design commenced in 2014. I already quoted that the 650 million euro are for the whole construction, but 225 euro for computing. That's us. Not me or IBM, that's us. We cannot do this on our own. That's Tata, that's Thales, that's everyone. It's not that as a... There are larger budgets. I mean, the National Health, whatever, science in the UK, they throw 12 billion euros and done nothing. So it's not that expensive, but it's extensive. And you have the opportunity later to have 100 times the SKA1 computer. The figures are staggering. So how are we working? These are the work packages. This is stuff. I don't know. Do I have a laser here? No. Okay, so I keep jumping. When it says SDP computing, hardware and storage, John Bancroft from Auckland University of Technology, common software, it's yours truly, which I was doing it in 2014. Now I pass it to a local company, Catalyst, which you probably heard about them. So we are in this together. We need to do things together. Yeah, Johnston Hollett is from Victoria University of Wellington, sorry. So I am in charge. Other thing is to be involved, different than leading. Because you figure out how to enter there. I'm the work package manager of that. Means nothing, I'm not getting paid, because the New Zealand government forgot to fund what? That's another story. So, but you are inside. You have the opportunity to do many things. So if I have a business card, it would say, I am the work package manager of the software development environment work package of the central signal processor of the Canadian consortium of the SKA, square kilometre array. So it's different stages. Essentially what we did is to deliver the first version of a professional software development environment. You heard in previous presentations that every time that they face a challenge, they have access to a lot of clever PhD students, that they have access to a lot of tools, and they put things together, and they solve the thing, and usually with the lowest possible budget, and have a clever thing that works. I'm far from reality? Now, that clever thing that works, it's done in University A, University B, University C. Do these things work together in an industrial scale business? In a kind of challenge that we see when we say, oh, I need to ship that product by Christmas with the platform, with the security and all that combined. No. It's not a middle term answer. It's a simple no. And that's what we at Open Parallel and Catalyst are aiming to provide for first the CSP and then the entire SKA if we are lucky and we fight against other forces. Because otherwise, it won't work. You have thousands of antennas, you have teams from 11, 12 countries, you have different cultures, you have problems. I will skip this, but this is what are we doing, which is coding standards, template, revision control methods, everything. So I have 9 minutes if I'm not wrong. But, so Open Parallel leads and CSP and SDP involves Catalyst. But if you start to build this at industrial scale, let's use the bad word, let's use the W word. Imagine that we build a new operating system, a Windows kind of thing that needs to work poorly everywhere in the world. You won't do that overnight. You need a lot of effort. That's what we are trying to bring together as a New Zealand Inc. kind of effort. So I will get there. This is gossip. But the challenge that exists in computing are power. Is anyone from Western Australia here? It's hot. So if you put a box, it usually melts. To avoid melting, you need either a few megawatts or water. Guess where is free renewable energy and a lot of water? David? Yeah. So it's not that stupid, yours truly. We in New Zealand there is a plant in Invercargill Bluff which we used to use some megawatts to deal with aluminium, not a very ecological thing. And we have a lot of water, for God's sake. Which brings another challenge. How on earth we bring all those petabytes of data from Western Australia to New Zealand? Okay, tell me. We don't know. If we knew, we would be doing it already. That brings clever guys, compression, so on and so forth. So we have problems, and I'm looking at all these problems while I just need to build a software stack. So essentially, it's a simple thing. This is the table of content of our report. If you go through it, you probably won't see nothing relevant, anything that will say, wow, these guys are on. Well, you start to deal with the strange things that these guys use on that context, and you have original solutions. So we are trying to put some order which allows humans to operate that massive data that it's coming. So the point is, exascale, 10 at the power of 18. It's a lot. I have no idea how to deal with it, and that's why I organize a get-together. I will tell you in a few minutes. But they need it. It's not that we are thinking about this just we have nothing to do. It came from the customer. They had that requirement. These expressions, 50 times the Hubble telescope resolution, 100 times the global internet traffic, 2 million years to play the data in an iPod, it's on the website. So, 1 day of data takes 2 million years to play in an iPod. What's an iPod? So those are all stories for marketing in terms to impact the guy who actually signed the check to fund the project. But the opportunities are real. Number one, the tender. That works for all of us, right? So, I'm just checking how many slides I have. The man in the moon kind of opportunities that happen in the world. There is work for everyone. I don't employ anyone, don't employ anything, but there is a lot of work to be done. So, join us. But if you want to use a trendy word to speak about big data, SKA is the ultimate big data project, which is true, and people understand. So in order to try to bring people together and understand more, every year I organize my little shindig, which is Multicore World, which started actually exactly as it is now. It was a mini-conf in LCA 2010 and LCA 2011, which was really fun. We had windsurf speaking about interplanetary internet and a lot of challenges. But if you look at the kind of people that is coming from anywhere in the world to New Zealand just to discuss things, and I don't have budget to pay travel, so it's interesting. Why? Because SKA brings people together. It's an enable. It triggers imagination. It's not about aliens. It's about being... Talent needs purpose. Talent needs purpose. People go fishing, people watch rugby league, other people do things like we were motivated this morning by the keynote, hopefully. So if you want to contribute, buy a ticket or send one. It's unashamed marketing. My measure of success, a part of the fantastic community that we are building, is that every year I lose less money by organizing this. So the spin-offs, this is general information. Everything which is big will benefit from this, but the new technology development is the one that I see much exciting about. I mean, there is a company called NVIDIA which does a lot of boxes and apparently is the hot flavor of the month. We'll bring together that with FPGAs and other accelerators, and you bring the guys from ARM and another few designs like those guys are doing in Dunedin, and suddenly you have a small ecosystem of extremely interesting things. We discussed this in Multicore World. So this is in some way already mentioned, so a few seconds to read it. And what can SKA do for New Zealand? Well, the government, probably, I'm obviously biased because I spent the last 5 years of this and a lot of resources, but for a country like New Zealand, if you are in the UK or if you are in Canada or India, other countries which are in the SKA, for a country like New Zealand or for South Africa, for example, these are opportunities once in a generation. South Africa are really, really leveraging very well. So, but the point is, remember the example of the trains? This is about building the train. Instead of watching things that are happening and say, may I be part of it? So the genome project, I'm sure that there are scientists in the University of New Zealand participating, but they are not leading it. Here we are actually doing the specs. We are actually designing it. That's not a minor thing. So the just retort principle, which is a story for politicians, is that, okay, we put $30 million, which goes to the general pool, with the condition that it's spent in New Zealand or Australian companies. And that's an international treaty, like, again, lawyers like Mr. Morgan should help. So what could go wrong? Sometimes it's better don't do anything than do it poorly. So a funding shortfall, it could be miserable because careers are broken, you have frustration, momentum is lost, and the most important thing, people don't take risks anymore, right? So, but the point that I want to highlight here about corporate interest and the ITAR, anyone knows what is that? Yeah. But not many of you. It's the International Treaty for Arms, and the R is something. It's the US government, something. It's technology transfer. We are concerned about open source, open communities. Technology transfer is not a simple thing. If I would be in Cuba doing these sort of things, I'm screwed. I cannot do it because there are regulations. It cannot go to Iraq and here and there. We cannot avoid thinking about these sort of things. That's the other point, the technology misuse. Big box, big ear. To listen to whom? Anyway, it's just 2 slides, thank you. So what's next? We had a lot of feedback from the SKA office. So we are running this probably in OpenStack. See, any of you people, users of large amount of data, we would love to have your data to try what are we aiming to deliver. So that's helped us to say to, in the times of tender, hey, we not only have been doing this, we have not only have been designing, we actually tested a few things. That's why I say showcase something at Multicore World. It's classic marketing bullshit. I have nothing, but in 1 year I will show it to you. So, but the applications to industry scale problems in Australia and New Zealand, it's something that I honestly believe. CDR, it's critical design review. So once that's approved, that's what goes in the statement of work towards tender. So a company from Wamaru goes and compete against a startup called IBM or this sort of thing. Why not? So logos, we participate on these sort of things. Please have a look at Multicore World. Thank you, Catalyst, for supporting us. Thank you. Merry Christmas.
Thank you, Nicolás, for
could you please pass it back?
It is officially afternoon tea time now, so if you're starving, please feel free to head off. I'm sure Nicolás will be happy to answer a couple of questions.
This is just an invitation for everyone.
Stretching or question?
Happy to take questions if I need to.
Do we have any questions? Everyone's hungry. Oh, hang on, we do. Here we go.
Yes.
So I just made a quick calculation based on the numbers on the website you linked earlier. It looks like 192 petabits per second needs to be processed for phase 1 alone. I know you said it's still a problem you haven't looked at yet, how to get the data over. How are you planning to collect? Do you have any initial thoughts on how you're going to just physically transport 192 petabits per second and take it to the central processing centre?
No. Honestly, but that's exactly has been thinking. I mean, I can tell the story about what has been thought. A few things cannot be said outside the consortium because I related into confidentiality agreements with the roadmap of the major companies, for example. But essentially, the honest, short, and real answer is no.
Guys, not speaking to me about it, and they're quite excited about it. So, I think that's what's happening.
So if something will happen, and that something will change a few rules. Even if what happened is that nothing happened. Because if you have a problem that you finally prove that cannot be solved technically, then a number of things change on public companies that have been investing a lot of money betting, hey, we will do this by 2018. Keep our shares up. There's a question there? No.
No, look, I think we'll have to leave it there for now, folks.
Okay.
Thank you very much for coming along. Thank you, Nicolás. Very
My pleasure.
much appreciated.